Hey guys, what is up? Lefty back here again, and thanks for checking out the video. This is like my fourth time trying to record this video. So this was a viewer requested topic, kind of similar to another video that I made in the past, but this one's a little bit more updated as well, and also a little bit more broader information for a certain topic, which is for new left-handed shooters, my top 3 recommended handguns. And as you can see, they're on the table right here. We have the Glock, Smith & Wesson, M&P, and then also the PPK from Walther. So those are my list of top 3 handguns. I will go through the reasons why and then also a little bit into each pistol to kind of further support why I chose those handguns. So we're going to go through a list of criteria real quick just so I can support my choices. So obviously when you're looking for a handgun and stuff like this, obviously reliability is going to be the most important. So if the damn thing doesn't work, yeah, throw that bitch in the garbage. We're not using it for home defense, carry, or whatever. It could just be just a ranged pistol, but that's not what we're talking about here. Because we are talking about, from his words, top 3 handguns for left-handed shooters for new shooters. So assuming he doesn't have any type of firearms in the house or whatever. So obviously reliability is first and foremost. So these 3 pistols I know are definitely reliable. Second, because we are talking about left-handed shooters, ambidextrous controls are definitely a positive. I don't think they're a 100% necessity, but a lot of your modern and even slightly more contemporary handguns are pretty ambidextrous for most people. Now, obviously, with the Glock Gen 3, which is my daily carry, you can get away with it because you really don't need ambidextrous controls, but they are nice for certain malfunction clearances and all this and that. The other thing that I'm going to be going into is availability of parts, and this kind of goes into ammunition. So obviously if you want something a little bit more historical because you've seen it in a goddamn movie like a Makarov or a PPK because James Bond had it, no, the parts availabilities for that, the support, and the ammunition for those kind of weapons are a little bit more hard to get. So I would recommend more modern, more contemporary pistols such as these ones here. The Glock obviously wins in that category, right? You got all kinds of different sights, different parts for competition, for duty use, whole slew of magazines you can put in the thing, whole different kinds of triggers, barrels, all different kinds of shit in there. And then also, if you have enough money you want to waste, you can also obviously get them all customized and decked out, all Gucci'd out and shit. And obviously the ammunition I would recommend is 9mm just because it's widely available for both range use and then also for duty use or / carry use. So that's my criteria, so let's get into each pistol. Okay, so this is not going to be in any order per se because at the end of the day, the pistol that you're going to want to choose and carry is the one that fits your hand the best and you feel the most confident and comfortable with, and obviously which one you can shoot the best with, right? So this is in no particular order. This is just the order that I'm going to go in. So obviously at least my personal first choice is going to be the Glock. Now obviously I would recommend the Gen 5, and people when that thing came out, we're making all these comments about, the Gen 5 is poor unless it's supposed to be, perfection, and it's just basically adding a couple of new things, and I kind of agree on that. If you have a Gen 3 and a Gen 4 and even a damn Gen 2 Glock in your gun safe, right? But for people that don't have a handgun, that is a awesome deal of steal for a handgun because it's fully ambidextrous. It's got a whole bunch of parts that you can already interchange with it, so it's, in my opinion, it's good to go. You get 3 magazines for like a little bit under $600. I mean, that's an awesome handgun for that. So I would recommend that Gen 5 version first. But if you want a Gen 3, Gen 4, it's all personal preference. Obviously, these are not the most ergonomic of handguns, but they are one of the more reliable of handguns and the most accurate for me and the most controllable and all that stuff. So this one I got over 3,000 rounds through. I have a couple other Glocks that total through Glocks I probably have close to 8,000 rounds total. And I've had maybe a couple hiccups through the totality of all those rounds down through the Glock. So I really like Glock. They've proven to me that they're damn reliable. And also, like I said before, a whole bunch of parts. So if you don't want to spend all the money on an OEM Glock magazine, which are really cheap now, they're about a little bit over $20. You can get the Magpul ones, you can get the ETS ones for about 10, 15, depending on where you get them and stuff like that. So this pistol is a really nice pistol to learn. And if you break shit, they are cheap to fix. The entire spring kit and all that to replace is like 20-some bucks. I mean, you just can't beat that. The price of this handgun is just an awesome deal. Alright, so now we got the M&P 2.0. So I did do a first impressions of this handgun. If you have seen it, I have a couple of issues with it. I have gone to the range recently and stuff like that, and some of the issues have kind of receded a little bit, but I'll kind of go into that later in the longevity review. But I think by far the M&P is one of the more ergonomic handgun designs. At least in my opinion, it fits my hand very nice. It feels very comfortable. It doesn't. The bore axis is pretty low. It's not a very snappy 9mm, unlike the PPQ over here, which we'll get to, because of the low bore axis and stuff. It's also one of the easiest to shoot, in my opinion, minus the trigger because of the ergonomics. Yeah, I still don't like that trigger, even though the trigger break is actually fairly decent. It's a little bit spongy, a little bit creepy, but yeah, it's a very nice trigger, at least relative to the 1.0. Now, I'm not saying don't get the 1.0. My opinion is I think the 2.0 is better because, once again, we fall into that size requirement, at least in my personal opinion. Something along the Glock 19 size or the 2.0 compact is that perfect size, because I want a gun, especially if it's my first handgun, that I can carry with me if I do have a carry permit, but also that it's big enough to fight with it for a home defense type scenario. People might recommend something like a Glock 42 or 43 or Smith & Wesson Shield or some shit like that, and I have some opinions on those guns, which I will do later, especially the Shield. But in my opinion, I think, especially for the price of some of those guns, another $100-$200, you're getting into a compact size duty pistol, in my opinion, which I think is a better deal, because these are going to be a lot more comfortable to shoot for longer periods of time, so you're going to get more range time with them, you're going to get more trigger time behind them, more dry repetitions for sure, and then also the capacity is significantly more, so that capability for home defense is greatly increased, right? So I would definitely recommend these size of pistol, double stack, compact size. If you want to, which I have carried my Glock 17 before, you can definitely do that. It's just a little bit more bulky than I think you need. However, it is doable. So, and then if you are going to go with the 1.0, just be aware that the triggers are definitely worse. The slide release is actually better. But one thing as well is that the size on those things are a little wonky. The 1.0, you have the full size, which is about the size of a Glock 17. And then you have the subcompact, which is like your size of Glock 26. So the M&P 2.0s is right around that 19 size. The 1.0s, you do have to kind of have like a grip spacer and all this shit like that to make it more comparable to the 19. I would just recommend just going with a 2.0. Besides, they are super cheap right now. They probably have an overabundance of them at the moment. So you can find these for well under $500. I bought this one for about 380, 370 or something like that, which is just a really super good deal. So brand new, by the way. So I think that's an awesome pistol for that. Super reliable. Haven't had any issues so far. Still don't like the goddamn trigger. Also the slide release. If you've seen my thing, my initial impressions video. I did have an issue with the slide release. Once you have a fully loaded magazine, it's definitely not that bad. But one technique I have kind of figured out that works a little bit better is actually when you come up to hit the slide release, you can't do it like that. You kind of have to pinch with both fingers and do that. It's significantly easier to do it that way. But again, hopefully if you're going to buy a particular pistol, I'd recommend going to the goddamn range first and shooting the thing. Because too many people go in and say, oh, that feels nice, and then they just buy it. It's just kind of flabbergasting to me, honestly. Okay, so the last pistol we're going to talk about here, and then I'll get on to the ones that I don't recommend. So this is Walther PPQ. This is the M1 version. They do have an M2 version, which I would slightly more recommend, just for the advent that it does have the more American-style push-button mag release. This one does have the European-style paddle release, which is not bad. The only thing I don't like about it, though, as I've gotten more deeper and deeper into kind of the gun handling type thing, is that if I'm doing a one-handed malfunction clearance, I do want that button, because if I have to do an inertia bump to get that magazine out, say I have a double feed or something like that, basically my grip on the thing has to be something like this. I have to jack my grip up like this, press down on the magazine release, and then hit my knee in order to get that magazine out. And when you're pressing down on that lever, it makes it significantly harder to maintain control of that handgun. And so when you have a button, you're actually pushing into the frame, actually having a better grip on it. This requires you to push away from the frame and down. So it's a little bit more wonky, and it's a little bit less ideal in my opinion. So obviously this thing is very reliable as well. No issues there. Awesome trigger. And one of the greater things that I like about this gun is that it's very ergonomic feeling. It feels really good in the hand. It does have this nice stippling on it, this kind of checkering, whatever thing that's definitely not aggressive, unlike the M&P 2.0, which I would recommend taking a little bit of sandpaper or something to kind of file that down a little bit, especially for concealed carry. But one nice thing about this handgun is that it does have very nice controls, fully ambi and stuff like that. One nice thing for people with smaller hands, you know, you can easily hit that slide release and stuff with no issues there. I definitely have a little bit smaller hands. Not the hands, just more fingers. But yeah, I would obviously still recommend for people that are doing a speed reload to have the support hand actually doing all the controls. So that really shouldn't matter. But if you decided to do that, you know, it's definitely doable. One thing that's kind of nice about this handgun is because these levers are pretty big. You think they would actually kind of hurt, and they sort of do if you had that really aggressive, you know, grip where you drive that damn hand straight to the ground kind of thing and get really aggressive. You might have to adjust your handgun grip a little bit, because I used to shoot like that as well, and this used to rub the shit out of my knuckle right there. But you know, you might have to change it up a little bit. But other than that, yeah, it's pretty nice. One nice thing too is that if you cover your finger over the slide release over there, you can actually kind of inertia bump drop it. It's kind of hard in front of the camera here to see if I can get it. There we go. So that's kind of fun to do. So this gun is very easy to manipulate, easy to shoot. Awesome trigger. Recoil is a little bit more stout than the other two handguns, as you can see how much more the bore axis is over my hand compared to the M&P. Significantly more. Not a whole lot, but a little bit more. And also the slide is significantly more chunky. As you can see, this thing is just a big block of of steel. So those are the handguns and kind of the reasons why I choose them. So let's quickly get into the guns that I do not recommend. Okay, so the handguns I do not recommend, and this is more of a personal reason. Obviously, this whole video is my personal opinion, so this my statement should not matter right here. One gun I do not recommend, obviously, is going to be like High Point or something, because there's just kind of pieces of shit, obviously. One of the main manufacturers that I do not recommend is actually H&K. H&K in the past has said a lot of derogatory things toward the civilian market, and they only kind of worry about the military contracts and all this and that. And they kind of give the middle finger. And honestly, I don't really care about their handguns all that much. You know, I've kind of held the VP9 and stuff like that. I actually shot one with a suppressor. You know, it's okay. I mean, I wouldn't pay anywhere near what it's actually required to buy that damn thing. But, you know, it's whatever. Honestly, I kind of prefer Walther personally, you know, over H&K just for that reason alone. But yeah, they're okay pistols. I mean, I went, you know, they're nothing really the gush over and stuff like that. But yeah, there's the things that they said about the civilian market. Kind of makes you want to give them the middle finger. Besides, they are overpriced. The magazines for those damn things are like $60. No, fuck those things. Obviously, they're probably gone down a little bit recently, because I have not checked those in since they came out or whatever. But yeah, they're significantly overpriced just because they say HK on the side. I'm not interested in those. The next one that I don't recommend is probably going to get a lot of people butthurt, but I don't really give a shit. Is SIG. I do not like SIG handguns, and basically the main reason is the damn design of the pistols is just retarded. Now, obviously, I messed around with the what the hell is it called? The P320. I think that chassis system for the trigger mechanism is actually kind of interesting. The only thing I don't like about it is the fact that I'm never going to be changing the size of my fucking handgun, so I don't really see why that's a thing. The only thing that I like about it, for the reason that you can take out the whole trigger mechanism, is so if people want to stipple their own handguns or something like that, and they fuck it up, well, they can just buy a new frame. No big deal. So that's like the only bonus, honestly, in that. Another reason is they're overpriced as well. I think the 226, you know, and that kind of history with that gun, I like it. I enjoy those. Those are not left-hand friendly guns. Those, you know, the only SIGs I like, or well, the only SIGs that I can stand. The 320s, they're too fucking big. You look at them, they just look funky. The grip is like here, and then the goddamn slide is like this fucking thick sitting on it. It just looks insanely ridiculous. I'm not a big fan of the guns. They don't shoot well for me. The muzzle rise is way too much. And honestly, I think they probably came out a little bit too late with those guns. Obviously, you had the M&Ps, you have the PPQs, and you had the obviously the Glocks and all that shit. And then the 320 comes out and tries to take away the market. It's just like, not feeling it, honestly. I just don't recommend SIG. Two other handgun manufacturers that I'm not recommending, I would just say maybe think about these ones first before you go into that. The FN509, definitely not a bad choice. I don't really have a lot of trigger time behind that particular handgun, but I like the way it feels, like the way it kind of does whatever. Not a big fan of the FNS, I believe is what it is, but the 509 is definitely pretty decent, even though they're technically the same gun. Slight differences there, but I just thought of another one. The Beretta APX or whatever, I'm not a fan of. I don't like that gun. Play with it, handle it. I think the trigger is shit. I think the slide looks funky. I'm not a fan of that gun, so I would say get away from that gun as well. One manufacturer that I would say definitely check out, but not necessarily buy, at least in my opinion, this is why it's not on this list, is the CZP-10C. I think that gun is a little bit too big to have the C next to it. Personally, I felt when I pulled the trigger, kind of indifferent about it, honestly. I think the grip texture is surprisingly stout, let's say that. It's definitely a little bit more aggressive than I was expecting. I think the handgun looks nice. The slide serrations is all good. The bore axis is pretty nice. It's just a little bit too big for my opinion. And also, I don't know who the hell said that damn trigger was like the PPQs. You can go to hell, man. That is nowhere near. So here's the PPQ trigger. It's a nice, probably 4.5. A nice clean break. Really, really nice. If you guys have ever pulled the M&P 2.0 trigger, this is a lot closer to the PPQ than the damn CZP-10C. I don't know who the hell said that the P10C had a PPQ-like trigger, or that the P10C had a better trigger than the PPQ. That is, you guys are smoking some crack if you think that. I grabbed that CZP-10 and I was like all excited to try it out and stuff like that. I'm like, all right, it feels good, a little big. Pulled that trigger, it was just kind of heavy and kind of gritty. I'm like, this does not feel like a CZ to me, because I've played with the P09, the P07s. I really like those handguns, especially the CZ75s. Oh, awesome guns. That damn CZP-10, not a fan. Just use my video as a data point in your entire collection, right? So don't use my opinion for everything, but just take what I said, bring it to heart for what you like, and if you don't, whatever, throw it out. And then go to other people's. See what they like. Go to the range. Shoot those handguns, please. Don't just buy something because somebody told you to buy it. And then, hopefully, you guys find out what you want to look for and find. And I'm just rambling right now. So anyway, thank you guys for watching. Be good.